Now I guess back into the realm of being in these parallel universes and not really believing or holy shit, this is happening kind of thing, kind of like a slow moving car wreck has been the kind of the whole Trump thing. And it's so funny. We've come to expect this kind of stuff, and of course, it's going to come out just before it's time to actually vote for the goddamn thing. But Trump has now allegations about women, being, was it sexually abused? I'm not too sure if he just sexually harassed or if he fucked some of these bitches. The Cosby effect. Now that would have happened a long time ago. Those skeletons would have been one of the first things to come out. Like I said, shit, this man's been under a fucking microscope, like intentionally, for the longest since we can remember. That's how he built his name. So it's kind of it's reached kind of like it's weird. It's at a weird fork in the road right now because it's either where, we either would have known about it and believe that it doesn't, it's can't be right, it can't be true. This is just bullshit that they're throwing to kind of throw some spice on top of all this shit, or maybe we kind of accept it. And why wouldn't Donald do that? Why wouldn't this man who talks shit about a fucking fat dyke, in public TV and repeats her name when it's time for the debates? Why wouldn't he go after this, or why wouldn't he do this? And in that same respects, there was what was it, the fat shaming he did with that girl Alicia Machado, who he had called fat. She's a former Miss Universe. He had talk smack about her. Hillary ends up using her as fire during the debates, and she's someone that I forget where the tiff was between her and Trump, but mind you, he's part of the Miss Universe contest. So, and why wouldn't he? Of course, have all the baddest bitches from all the countries around the world, but there was a point where he had, did her dirty, and we could all look it up later. But apparently she's kind of been through a life of her own, to where she was like with some fucking drug smuggler. You know what I'm saying? She's been in the heat, and people thought, or there was speculation that when, Hillary brings her up, and she even used her in her fucking ad, which you have to pay for. I'm wondering, does this bitch get broken off with a little something? Like, you have to, right? Like, if you're going to use your public image and, kind of repeat this public shaming and hurtful, time to then, be and repeat and be used against someone else, which it's kind of funny that Hillary, I'm speaking of, calls Donald this bully, and yet she's using these fucking bully ass tactics. Now that's not taking away from what he's doing. She's a lying bitch on top of it, but it's like I said, it's a dirty fight, and it's just like, man, it's just fucking pissing me the fuck off. And especially because, some would think that, me being racy, that, I'm a firm, Trump supporter, which I supported the fact of how ridiculous I feel like it is. But this motherfucker ruined one of my babies. And I'm pretty sure she was a former dedication before, but Rose McGowan, who now has this scary, I really wouldn't call it a butch shave, because she's just a bit aging, so she just looks a little butch, and she's like all fully shaven, and she talks about this raping that happened in with I'm not sure if it was a director or a producer, and that it's been like the Hollywood secret to everyone knows, but no one really talks about. And I can't believe that Trump would go against his woman, knowing all this shit, and being so hurt about being hurt, and about being put on the back burner. And a lot of people kind of mention it being her foray into wanting to speak up for abortion, which, mind you, if you're fucking raped, you shouldn't have to keep that bastard. Point blank. I mean, could that be the next Jesus? Could that be the person who cures cancer? I mean, we'd all like to fucking hope so, but and that's where waters become murky, and you have the fucking choice. And that's kind of where I feel like, that is up to you. And no matter what spiritual thing we can think of, if you can't provide in that future, and let's say it's 80% of folks who are in that predicament don't end up on the positive note, why would you want to continue that trend? Honestly, just besides feeling things wrong, or something's icky, or it's hurtful, I mean, why would you put someone else to that suffering? On top of it being suffering on yourself, which, mind you, someone would say it's selfless, but in the same aspect, it almost seems like you're doing things out of guilt, and which I guess kind of keeps the world turning, and what kept Catholicism thriving. So I mean, who can really talk shit about that? But the fact that Trump talks shit about McGowan pissed me off, saying the bitch ain't attractive. And yeah, as much as I like my dyke haircuts and it not fitting well with her, that shouldn't be held against her. And I don't know, that fucked me up, man. How in this time, and I guess it doesn't matter what kind of zingers you're throwing, which definitely, as we know, what kind of parallel universe we're living in, or we can throw this bitch in the fire, calling her ugly, like Trump, you an ass. And although it's shitty that you have these people throwing these claims at you, it almost, like I said, it's perfect fucking timing, and people are gonna easily believe it. And why you became the scapegoat for this, I can't understand, and I'm really tripping out about who you have in hand to be able to get you out of this pocket. And I wonder what fucking deals had to be made for that. God help us. And then I didn't catch the second debate that was going on, but one of the only things I remember hearing, so I think they actually did it on a Saturday. So this is one of those weird ones where I'm not too sure if they're trying to test to see what kind of ratings they can get on this particular time, but it was just one of those things to where it wasn't a part of the workday. So because it wasn't part of the workday, meant that I wasn't glued, to my phone or at work. Google, easily available, news feeds coming all around me. I'm chilling or dealing with the family thing. But the one thing that I got out of all this, and this is actually how I discovered there was even a second debate. I thought it would have been more, I don't want to say it because I'm pretty sure it was nationally broadcasted, but it would have been, I don't know, given more of a heads up. I mean, I assumed that they would try to get it to your attention way more like how they did the previous one. At least I thought the previous one was advertised more, and whether that was strategic or not, I don't fucking know. But the only thing that I got from it was a character that had become a meme, and that's fucking Ken Bone. And it was funny how I was seeing him, actually, the first thing I ever saw him in, and I laugh only because it reminded me of my fat ass a few years ago, where it had a picture of him in his infamous red sweater, and they had it saying something about the man your girl tells you not to worry about. And I know that might sound terrible, just in the sheer fact that, you gotta keep ass people for everyone. But he seemed like that Lone Ranger, like that nigga that was just kind of chilling and, letting you do your thing, and he was just coming in with the realness. And whether or not I want to say that that's how I came out, well, that's another topic for another day. But when I saw it, I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, who is this guy? But I didn't think nothing else of it. And then other things started sprouting out. And it didn't take too long to then see interviews of this guy. And I'm talking about, like, literally every channel that I was going on, every single news media outlet, they all had an interview with him. And he was always rocking that red sweater and really just, they'd clown on him, and he'd make his own little jokes. And, it kept our attention, but I'm wondering, how is it that this, heavy set, damn, it's technically considered obese, Midwestern man who was asking some kind of energy question, a real fluff question, the type of thing to where, when the presidents or, whatever government officials, they come to a high school and, the students have a opportunity to ask them a question, and instead of asking something, cutting edge or, something that makes you grit your teeth, it's, in suspense or anticipation, it's some fluff piece, the thing that you get and you ask that to make things really easy. Pretty much you're giving this motherfucker the opportunity to, get a fly ball, like you want to knock this one out the park, something easy. And I kind of laughed that he then became the scapegoat for all this because, in his story was interesting enough. He had a suit, being a fat guy, the moment he put on his little suit that he had made tailored or that belonged to his pappy or some shit, ripped, And then it happens, I'm embarrassed to say that, sometimes shit doesn't fit, and that's why bitches, be bridezillas on their weddings, because the shit that they got fitted for so many months in advance, no longer is fitting them, and they're having a cow attack, But regardless of that, that was the first thing he's able to find, and I'm just thinking, and they made a really big deal about him having that sweater because it then became one of the most top selling things to where it sold out. I don't know if it was Izod or Macy's, whoever the hell carries that particular brand, and it just fucking. Just the sheer magnitude of kind of how famous he got and whether it was a quick little 15 minutes or not, and how, they even fucking made Halloween costumes. The fact that and we'll get into Halloween costumes in a little bit, but the fact that they have a fucking sexy Harambe outfit, has tells you the fucking the sheer reaches will do in order to be able to make a buck, especially if there's enough sympathizers out there. That's kind of what I think gave ISIS such a great power. There's enough sympathizers out there to get these niggas to have a movement to roll with. But back to Kevin Bone or Ken Bone, wherever he goes by, he kind of, like I said, stole the show in the aspect that, you know, it's all about him. Now, I think when they do that and, you know, everyone's, you know, gaga over you, people then start digging a little bit, and he was doing an AMA. I'm not too sure if that's a porn thing or something, to where it was connected to Reddit, and he was doing kind of like a question and answer kind of thing, a Q&A, and he then, I guess, opened up the old account that he had once before, and they have your history there. I mean, every website you go to is going to have your history. You go to my Tumblr, you're going to see some of the nasty-ass likes I've liked. But, I mean, hey, you know what I'm saying? It's beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so whatever. But this guy, you're able to see conversations and jokes that he's had, commenting on when the fappening happened, which he had commented on some kind of Jennifer Lawrence picture. And, hey, I will admit that was probably my favorite thing of that. I mean, that sucks that their privacy was broken in that aspect. But, I mean, she's a goddess for sure. So, I mean, of course, that would probably be something you would have caught me, commenting on, not talking shit, but if anything, kind of giving my praises. And then that's really where I feel like, okay, that's bad enough. You're talking about something that's, you know, not so much work appropriate. Along with that, he referenced about how he sexually preferences pregnant women, which that's a fetish. And considering that most niggas leave their women, and when I say niggas, I'm talking about just some, you know, say no good, nasty men in general, not just, you know what I'm saying, black folks. Although the lines at the children welfare will probably give you a good distinction, Latinos and blacks. But anyways, I mean, there's countless amounts of people, so we can't even fucking praise anybody for that shit. I mean, you're either a person of honor or not. But regardless, it's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is, if he fancies those people that maybe are abandoned, just like the butch dyke lesbians that, you know, pick up these broken-hearted pregnant women that got beaten by their men, give praise to the motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to, you know what I'm saying, make treasure out of trash. So, God bless him. Now, in that same respect, he's just commenting about things. He even talks to a tranny that was asking for clothing advice, and I'm not too sure if he was trolling or not, but he mentions getting a vibrant, you know, red sweater and some khakis. So that kind of goes to show that, you know, he just happened to have his shit put on. He wasn't, we try to make him out to be this hero. We kind of make fun of him at the same time. And we get upset because he makes a couple of off-color remarks. And, I mean, that's ridiculous. And there's even another story or another comment, because like I said, in Reddit, you can see all your comment history and everything. And there was one, article or one story about someone who just had felt ugly and suicidal. And he had said something inspirational about that, the likes of that. Another thing, actually, now thinking about it, that he had caught headwind on or some heat towards was the Trayvon Martin thing, which, you know, we can argue all day about how that shit was foul, but there is a certain line where he mentions it being justifiable. Not to say that it didn't have a moral implications, but that, you know, when your life's in danger, that's what happens. So, mind you, not so much a good thing, but it's going to come off wrong, because most media outlets, especially straight up internet companies that are looking for clicks, they're going to put on there, you know, a precise word that they can quote. Because if they're going to quote something, it better be precise. Now, when you can mention a whole bunch of shit and then take one small word from what they had actually mentioned, and you got yourself some clickbait, and they use the word justified. And obviously there's more context to that, but we're going to see that word, run with it, and assume he's a fucking Nazi prick asshole. So, mind you, he doesn't look like the nicest guy, but not to say that he's, you know, that much on the deep evil end. And I think that's kind of where they're kind of fighting towards in this whole politic race and in these elections. That's exactly what's going on. They're trying to figure out who's the less evil, who can be the head of these two. I mean, I was even tripping out my grandma bringing up martial law to me and saying that she had heard some shit about that happening this time around, and who fucking knows if we can't decide one from the other and feel like they're both pieces of shit, and we end up having you know what I'm saying, just kind of board up the walls and have government take over shit because we're too fucking stupid to pick a side, and we're, you know, arguing about the left or right when clearly we should be going down a more of a middle road. Who knows when they start taking the control on that shit. They start taking shit off of autopilot and start manning the wheel. Now, in that same aspect, I'm wondering myself, like, dang, how is it that this Cambone has gotten all this attention when really we should be fucking focusing on these candidates? They're full of bullshit responses. And, how we can try to better ourselves into going through a more proper path. And it's little, monkey wrenches like this that gets thrown in that makes you wonder, or makes you think, or should alert you and be like, yo, this is really a shit show. And we need to be more serious, and we need to be more precise and figure out what the fuck we're doing. And to allow ourselves to be distracted by such nonsense is kind of horseshit-like. And we should really, really, if not be scared, then just be alarmed.